Hi everybody, welcome to our video on Chapter 3, Designing Technical Documents. I wanted to record a quick video to go over some of the key points of the chapter. The discussion board that you answer questions for will also help you dive a little deeper into what the chapter is talking about. A few things I want to highlight. First is process. This chapter talks a lot about the writing process, and as you're reading, I think it's a good idea to think about how it's very similar to the writing process you learned in your academic writing classes. So first year composition classes, 101, 1101, 102, 1102, those courses, it's kind of the same thing, right? You have the planning stage where you do brainstorming and think about your audience and your purpose. Then you do your drafting, then you do revising and editing. And of course, it's not a linear process. You're always kind of going back and forth. Research goes in there too with the planning, but also the drafting and revising. So just kind of as you read it, and there's a question on this with your discussion board, is think ahead and think about how you've done your writing process before and how this sounds similar or different, and maybe what do you want to work on this semester. Another thing I want to highlight is audience. So the book talks about different types of audiences and ways to get information, questions to ask. I like to just point out one thing, which is we have our intended audience, and then sometimes we have, I don't want to say an unintended audience, but like a more indirect audience that we should think about. So for example, if you're going to send an email to your boss with a proposal to upgrade a software or buy a new copy or whatever it is, she's going to read it, so she's your intended audience. But chances are she's going to forward it to other people, right? She's going to forward it to IT where they will to have them check the software. Or she's going to email her boss to find out if there's money. So always keep in mind that when you send something to somebody, whatever it is, it could always be forwarded on, and think about who it might be forwarded to so that you can encompass that audience as well. In other words, your manager might be some subject matter expert where you can use jargon and lingo, but maybe you need to add a little bit more to that if it's something that would then be forwarded to a higher up that maybe isn't a subject matter expert. So just I always like to think about that. There's multiple audiences out there. Couple other things. Templates. Your book talks a lot about templates, and he's very negative with the word templates. I agree. They're not very interesting, and they certainly can be difficult to use. But the idea of templates overall, chances are wherever you work, they're going to have templates that they use. So in other words, if you're creating a training class or an instruction manual, a formal report, even in email, there are probably rules that you need to follow for formatting and design. In other words, you don't have to start from scratch, right? If you have to come up with the formal report at the end of the year, chances are they did one the year before and the year before that, and there's a pretty standard format for that. If you're doing even like I said, even in email, they might have a particular signature you have to have. So before you do anything, before you go off and design a bunch of stuff, wherever you work, always make sure you ask and see if there's already a template out there for you. Okay. Last thing, it talks about revising and editing and proofreading. I want to talk about the differences and then relate them to what we're going to be doing this semester. So revising is more about the writing. So it's, did I include enough information? Should I add an example? Is this relevant? Should I take this out? Is this clear? So just kind of looking at the overall document and writing itself, the fundamental changes. Then editing and proofreading are more about the nitty-gritty. Did I spell this word right? Did I forget a comma? Did I use the right form of there? All of those things are super important. Obviously, you're going to edit and proofread more when it's something going to a lot of people. But to be honest, we should always we might miss a comma. We might, miss a word or something happens, but that should be a true mistake that there's only one or two, as opposed to, we never reread it. We just sent it off. That goes to even the smallest email. If your grammar's bad, people notice, and they won't necessarily tell you. They'll just kind of label you as either unknowledgeable or lazy. So it's all important, right? So I want you to do it for this class. So when you submit assignments to me, that's why I want you to give me your multiple drafts, because I want to see your revision and editing process. When you are doing your peer reviews for each other, obviously the revising part is the super important part. Talk about, let them know, like, this part was confusing, or maybe add an example here, or ask questions. That's one of the best ways to give feedback. But don't be afraid to also do some editing and proofreading. It's just a suggestion. They don't have to change it, but it can be helpful. So if you think, like, it looks like you add a lot of extra commas, I don't think you need this one here, or I noticed a lot of misspellings, anything like that, please let the writer know. And I always would rather someone tell me, and then I can make a choice if that comma should be there or not, but at least you told me. However, you do not need to sit there and proofread every line of everyone's assignment. It's good to give them, like, hey, I noticed that you seem to have a lot of extra commas. Here's an example of one that I found, but you don't necessarily have to go through every line and edit it for them. Okay, I hope all of that helps. Have fun reading the chapter, and I look forward to reading your first assignments next week on Thursday. Talk to you soon.